Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, performed this afternoon by Peter Griffin and his dirt bike.
Hey, this is Ryan Villapoto, and you're listening to DMXS Radio.
Everybody, welcome back to DMXS Radio. We appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Don't forget to check out the DeCoster. We had Justin Brayton, Chad Reed, Travis Pastrana, and Will Hahn pods in the tube as well. So make sure you guys check those out. And thanks our sponsors. We don't ever run these down your throat, but we want to thank them for sure. Racer X, MX Sports, W Wheels, OGO Concept, Two Rowers, and of course the great folks at Dunlop. Best tires in the business, including their new Geo Max line. So check them out at Ride Dunlop. But now it is time for one of our favorites, Cooper Webb. What's up, Coop?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Man, we're kicking some ass. First of all, congratulations on the birth of your second baby girl, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's been awesome to have another one, and mom and baby are doing great.
Awesome.
And, yeah, it worked out with my injury and the time off, and
yeah. Is the second
awesome.
baby easier?
I don't know about easier, but
you just know.
So far she's been good. She's been really good and sleeping well, and
good.
I forget how small they are and how pretty much just sleep, use the bathroom, eat, repeat now.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
That's pretty much like teenagers nowadays, anyway. I mean, that's all they do. So it's kind of like that generation. Are you on diaper duty? Are you good with that?
I'm lucky with the brace I got on with this thumb.
Oh.
I can't change them, man. I can't change them, and I keep joking with the wife. The therapy. I don't know if that's in the therapy yet. It might take a few weeks so I can change a diaper or two.
Dude, I love the technicality. You basically just a law degree. You pull up a technicality in the diaper changing contract. Like, nope, I can't do it. If I get dookie, if I get dookie on this, I have to take it back.
We got a few weeks at least.
Okay. Well, how did your surgery go? I mean, this is a couple weeks now. You announced you finally dropped that bomb on us that you've been injured for half of the year. How did your surgery go?
Oh yeah, everything went well, man.
Okay.
Yeah, we went up to Vail, Colorado. I raced Salt Lake and then flew Sunday to Vail, Colorado, and got surgery done there at the Stedman Clinic. And yeah, it was great. Super easy. Got in Monday morning right away.
Okay.
No issues, and was able to leave that next day back to Florida.
Nice.
And yeah, just kind of been on the mend. And it's been 2. Coming up on next Monday will be 3 weeks. So
okay.
I'm in a pretty big brace for the first 4 weeks. No movement to the thumb or anything at all.
Yeah.
Just letting it heal, and then at 4 weeks I can start moving it a little bit here and there, and then at 6 weeks we can start moving it pretty much full on then. And
Okay.
that's when I'm hoping to be back on the dirt bike around that 6 week mark, but we'll see.
Okay.
They had originally told us 6 to 8 weeks. And, it's just one of those things. Doc said, hey, you want that thing to be strong and healed before you get on a dirt bike. So that way, even if you just fall over, it can hold its own. So
yeah.
Definitely not trying to push it, but also I want to try to be back as soon as I can be.
Was it a full tear, a partial tear? I mean, how do they even fix a UCL? Is it a cadaver? I mean, what's the procedure here?
Yeah, so it started off as just a grade 2 is what they call it. So there's grade 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
3 is where you basically rip the ligament off the bone.
Okay.
A grade 2 is, from what the doc told me, which is what I started at, is like basically anything over a 60% tear of the ligament itself. But it's still basically holding on by a thread.
Yeah.
And then a grade 1 is just, a slight tear. So I had a grade 2 and it was holding on by a thread, and obviously just, over time and impact and all that, it turned into a grade 3, which required surgery. So they went in, and what they told me is they pin it up against the bone. They actually pin the ligament to the bone, and that'll stay in there, for basically ever. So, it was. I've actually done it to my right thumb. Mm-hmm. So I've been there and done that. Unfortunately, so. Now it's just waiting for it to heal up.
Well, I mean, the thumb is pretty important to holding on to a dirt bike. So when you did this in Birmingham, you obviously knew you entered it right then and right there. But how much grip strength? I mean, I looked up the UCL injury, and one of the biggest symptoms is no grip strength. So how did that affect you gripping a dirt bike for 8 rounds? Then you made it worse in Philly for the last 3.
Yeah, it basically limited me. I knew right then and there when I did it. I did it in the heat race in Birmingham with Jet when I had clipped the back of them and kind of high-sided to the right. And I must have caught it. How they say you tear it is basically a hyperextension where your thumb basically hits your wrist. And that, ouch. I think I caught it on the bar, and that's what happened. So at the time it hurt, and I actually felt like I tore my UCL that right then and there. So raced, and it did affect grip strength a lot, to be fair, right then and there when the adrenaline and on race day it isn't as bad. But for me, once I got back home, we got the MRI done and we knew right away. So I basically kind of had to adapt my riding a little bit. Like I wasn't able to use the clutch, so I had to kind of learn how to ride without the clutch. And then, also, the way I was gripping the bike, right? So, little things, obviously the whoops were like the big thing for me that was a killer. Anything that would jolt it really hard, moving in like think of your thumb moving like laterally, I guess. Yeah. Hurt it. So like whoops were really bad. And then if you landed in like really bad braking bumps, that would be bad. And then, believe it or not, like my right-handers, because when you're turning right, you're putting a lot of pressure on your left.
Gotcha.
Those hurt worse than left. So the grip strength definitely got affected, and that's kind of where the arm pump started happening was, I wasn't really able to hold on very tight with my left, so I would be holding on super hard with my right, and then I would just end up pumping up and, kind of having to fight that. So that was actually the biggest struggle. Like the pain definitely wasn't great, but it was actually honestly the arm pump that was really frustrating. Yeah. But it was all stemming from the UCL injury. And then, like I said, at Philly, I feel like it kept getting, I wouldn't say better. But during the off weekend after St. Louis, I actually didn't ride but one time before Gillette. Wow. And I feel like it allowed it to heal, and Gillette was great. But it also it kind of started depending on how the tracks were, right? So like if you could jump the whoops, that was awesome for me because I couldn't even skim the whoops with my thumb, from a pain tolerance and just holding on and everything. So it kind of depended how the tracks were, and the softer tracks were better on it because, like I said before, the bump impact was hurting. So if they were softer bumps, that really helped. So just little stuff like that when you're healthy, you obviously don't think twice. But when you have some nagging injuries, you start to notice the little stuff. So, but no, it was good. Like I said, to be able to win races after that and fight for the titles, tooth and nail and all that. And it was still good enough to get the job done, And, so that's where, like I said, it definitely, unfortunately, like as it got worse, and especially I think Philly was when I did it, when I crashed with Jason, I believe I finished it off there. So that was a bit of a bummer. Those next 2 rounds were really, really painful. So, yeah, but, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, that's for sure.
And then you have like RC and people in booth giving you shit about, the whoops. Like, he needs to be better in the whoops. You're like, I'm running with one thumb. And they don't know that at the time, but you're like, I'm just literally trying to not have 5 impacts as I go through, 5 or 6 impacts on tops of these whoops.
Yeah, it was tough. It was, for me, I'm never one to really mention an injury, and I felt like in the situation I was in, I was still going fast enough to do my job, and it wasn't really affecting things, and I didn't really want to make a big deal out of it or have the media even catch wind or honestly even Jet, to be completely honest. Like, I didn't want anybody to know that I was hindered at all, right?
Wow.
So, it started, I think, people started noticing, like, we would cut my grip a certain way. I'd be wearing, tape, and I think people started to catch on, and that's when the rumors started kind of coming around. And yeah, like I said, you want to give them insight so that way they can do their job. But at the same time, I didn't want anybody to know. So, I think it was one of those things that we got to be mindful of, hey, you're going to have critics and you're going to have people telling you what you can and can't do. And I just knew in my mind, what I was dealing with. So I didn't let it bother me.
We all have theories about this, and it's like an NBA and major league, sports, that you have to disclose injuries because it's gambling's legal. With Supercross, obviously that's not the case.
Yeah.
So the theory with this is, one, if the media gets a hold of this, you'll be nagged with a million questions every single day, and then 2, you don't want your competitors to know your weaknesses. Is that why you guys don't disclose injuries? It's not just you.
Yeah, I think everything in every situation is different, but I think for me, yes, it was one of those things where, like I said, it wasn't bothering me enough performance-wise. Like, yeah, it hurt, and yeah, I couldn't hold on, and yeah, I was pumping up, but I could still go out there and potentially win a race and be on the podium and be a contender and do my part. So I don't really want to, in my mind, it was almost like I'd be making an excuse.
Okay.
But I guess you can look at it like that now, like, oh, well, that's what he's using as an excuse. Or I don't know. Everyone's going to look at it differently. I just know what I was thinking of, like, simply, hey, at that time and moment, I'm racing Sexton for points and I'm racing Jet for points. And if they know I'm hurt, then I know if I was in their shoes, it would give me this mental advantage knowing my competitor's hurt.
Wow.
I know, hey,
okay,
he's going to get arm pump, or he's going to not be able to finish strong in this finish, or, I would know, hey, I got this guy on the ropes type thing. So that's where I feel like, a lot of people might not relate to that or understand that, but knowing how strong Jet is, and especially mentally how strong he is, I didn't want him to catch a single glimpse of that. I was not firing on all cylinders. So that was my big thing behind it.
And that's honest that you say if things were reversed, you'd be like, oh man, that's like, you would literally go into the race with a little bit more confidence knowing you got a wounded, competitor. So that's even more telling. I'm sure that everybody, whether they want to say it or not, you're saying, hey, if I'm injured, I don't want them to know. And if they're injured and I find out about it, I know that. That's interesting.
Sorry, you were breaking up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say that's very interesting that you admit that, hey, if it were reversed and Jet had an injured thumb and you got wind of that would change you mentally. And I think that's very telling that you guys keep that close to the vest because you don't want your competitor to have an advantage over you with your injury. I understand that now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? And I think, like I said, at our level, at least at the championship level, I think that's what it really comes down to is the one, how you handle pressure, but performing every weekend. It's a lot of things, but I think once we got into where it started to turn into, me and Jet were the title guys going back and forth with the points and stuff, you any little advantage matters, right? If I had heard or knew Jet had crashed during the week or anything like that, I knew, all right, this could play in my favor or whatever the case is, So, it's tough. I don't know what the right answer is. I know everyone has different theories about it and so on and so forth, but I feel like we handled it in a fine way.
Okay. What can you still do in train? Can you get on a stationary bike, or what can you do at all to help your cardio these 8 weeks?
Yeah, so I've been able to run, no problem. So that's been fun. I'm not much of a runner, so I actually have a goal. I want to run a half marathon before I'm back. So
nice.
That'll be fun. But yeah, I can get in the gym and I can do stationary bicycle and I can run. So I'm actually pretty fortunate to be able to do that. And then the brace I have on, I'm able to take off and shower with, and then I can do therapy on my wrist and my fingers at the moment. So. That's positive. That way my wrists and fingers are all moving. Most of the time when you're, people don't think about it, but when you're in a cast for an extended amount of time, everything shuts off, right? So now your wrists ain't moving, your fingers aren't moving, your thumb ain't moving, and you got to rehab everything. So I'm hoping, like I said, at that 4 to 5 week mark that I can get out of this brace I'm in into basically a thumb splint and start moving my thumb. And that way when I'm go to transition to there, I'm only having to do PT on my thumb. Yeah.
So ideally, how many weeks would you be back on the bike before you felt comfortable enough to line up at a national? Like how many weeks are to get back into shape and to get back into?
It's tough. I really don't know. Right. And the one tough thing about it is I've yet to really, because of my thumb injury, I didn't do any motocross. So we've done zero testing.
You'd start from scratch, yeah.
So yeah, I'm starting from scratch. So that I feel like is going to slow me down a little bit, just in the simple fact of I know the guys will have a great bike, but I'm going to have to give myself a few days of testing. And then, honestly, I don't know. I haven't ridden an outdoor track since the first week I came here, back in August of last year.
That's crazy.
I think it's one of those things where I need to, we rode the first off weekend. I think I did 2 days of motocross and that was really it. But like I said, it just depends, right? I think if I'm able to hop on the bike and the biggest thing is I told them is I just don't want to be in pain.
That's not a good sign. Yeah.
That's the number one thing. If I can get on the bike with no pain, then we go from there. So it's hard for me to put a timeline on it. The doc want me to do a week or so of turn track to just really make sure that it's good to go. So I think realistically the last 3 is kind of the timeline, and then come back and do the last 3 nationals in the SMX.
Yeah.
But I'm pushing for sooner than that. I would love to be back for Spring Creek or Washougal.
Okay.
We'll see.
And SMX is the big picture, right? Like if you had to do it, because you're going to be obviously out of the championship outdoors, that's not going to matter. But SMX, you jump right back in there where you left off as a runner up in Supercross, and that would be the bigger picture. So no pain, get your training in, get comfortable back on the outdoor tracks, and then jump back in wherever that is. But SMX would be your main goal to show up and be ready to race.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like I said, the last 3 are no doubt. Nationals are that's no matter what. But yeah, I'd love to come back for those last 3 and have some good results. And, if I could land on the podium, at some point in those last 3 nationals, I'd be extremely happy with that. And then go into SMX with, having a good Supercross bike. We know I did great in Supercross, and then having now going into SMX, some motocross platforms. So knowing that when we go to SMX, 1, I'm healthy, 2, I've done some racing, and 3, we have kind of a great Supercross bike and a great motocross bike. We can kind of come up with a hybrid setting like these tracks are and go after that SMX championship. I think the unfortunate part now is even in that, I'll be coming in, points back just from simply missing the motocross side of things, but you never know. And then that's honestly something now too. Maybe we do rush back and just worry about collecting points and build into it. I'm not too sure. We haven't really talked with the team too much. We were going to talk more at basically that 4-week mark, but yeah, I think it's just as a team we got to decide what makes the most sense moving forward.
Long term. Well, hey, congrats on such a hard fought 2004 Supercross season. I mean, you kept Jet honest, which is just amazing in and of itself, being tied that late into the season, especially, being injured halfway through it. I mean, 4 out of 6 years, you've either won or been runner up. And then 2023, you got third and you would have won another championship without the Nashville injury. I mean, dude, you didn't even make Racer X's #1 show last year for the Supercross contenders. And here you are again, just proving everybody, I hate to even ask this question. You weren't even, I actually wrote this down because I can't believe it. 2019, you weren't even invited to the Anaheim 1 press conference. And then 2023, they put you on the back row. So, Cooper, when are they going to learn?
I don't know, man. Your guess is as good as mine. I think it's good for me. Obviously, I feed off that stuff, and I do really enjoy, being the underdog. But it is a little bit at this point in my career, can take it as a little bit disrespectful because, like you said, a lot of years I've won twice. I've been runner up twice. I got, like you said, third and missed 2 rounds with a concussion last year, and was in the title fight late last year. I've been in the title fight basically since the case, 2019, I've been in it every year but one. So it's a little bit frustrating, at times. And I think when I look as a whole, if it wasn't for, we keep saying it, but if it wasn't for Jet this year, then I have an amazing year, right?
Yeah.
And I beat the guys that I've been racing with the last 5-6 years, by a big margin. But that's how the sport goes, and you got new guys, and so I think for me as a whole, though, and especially when I look back, like the steps we made from SMX to Anaheim 1 in that short amount of time, was really good. I truly, when I was racing those guys at SMX, the speed that they were going and just how intense and fast everything was, it caught me really off guard.
Oh, okay.
So I think for me to be able to find those weaknesses and, like you said, be a contender from Anaheim 1, I feel like, on paper, yes, I got 6 at Anaheim 1, but I felt like I could have won that night. And it's been a long time since I've gone into Anaheim 1 feeling like I could win. So, yeah, as a whole, it was a great year. A lot of podiums, a lot of consistent races, a good amount of race wins. But I think the bigger picture was I got 2 pole positions this year, which was great. I was in the mix with fastest times during the main event, winning main events, being up in the mix. And truly, I felt like on any given night, I could go out and contend for a win. I feel like last year I was really strong, but I didn't feel like that. And I truly feel like the way I rode this year, I would have pretty much, won any other year prior. So, I was really happy. I felt like this is the best version of myself that I've been. I truly do believe that and feel that. And I'm hoping I can build. I think a lot of people too forget, it was also my first year with this Yamaha squad. So, we went through some challenges, the first few, learning the bike and stuff like that, just like you normally would with a new team. So for me to be as strong as I was year one, I'm super excited for next year. And I want to try to beat Jet, man. That's the goal for next year.
And think about how boring this year would have been without you in it. I mean, it would have been a runaway. It would have been a snooze fest. Just even watching, and this guy, I think you've even said out of your own mouth that Jet is a generational talent. And it's like when you go toe to toe with this guy, you've been the young stud. You've been the guy that defending champion. You've been, looking at, down his barrel of the same gun he's looking at too. So when you're able to, it's like, all right, this kid, all right, how about being tied with 4 races to go? Let's do this.
That's what I mean. Like I said, you gotta, at the moment you don't really understand and you're just tunnel vision on the championship.
Yeah.
But when I look at, like I said, he went undefeated in outdoors last year. He won SMX. He's the generational talent. He's breaking all these records already that the best to ever do it have done. So I think for me, just to understand that, hey, I was able to get in there, win races, beat him, sometimes straight up, and then race him injured and take it to the end was super cool, and just like it gave me confidence. It also makes me wonder, like, man, if I wouldn't have been injured, could I have maybe had it a little bit closer, or who knows? But it's also, like I said, when I look, and I'm this kind of person I am, like I always look forward, and for me, now I know going into next year, hey, I can win this championship. I can beat this guy in Supercross. Yeah, he's a heck of a rider, and can, certain nights he'll for sure be the fastest guy and maybe beat me by 20 seconds. But I know over 17 rounds that I can go toe to toe with him. So I'm excited, and I think just as a whole this year was great. And if we can end it, with these last few outdoors and the SMX, we have a chance there to do really well. It'd be a great year for us, but I'm already excited for Supercross next year, that's for sure.
You know what would make an awesome 2024? I mean, you're runner-up Supercross. We just mentioned all the accolades. Just come back off the couch and disrupt his winning streak this summer. That would be awesome. Just right off the couch.
Oh, that'd be great too, right?
Yeah.
And I think, that's a goal of mine as well. Like, I want to get back to being an outdoor guy and being, I'd really like to win an outdoor again and be a contender in that series as well. And so, I think, like I said, it's been a great year, and it's I'm hoping only the beginning of a great run for next few years, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But I'm with you. If I can come in and try to get some wins late this year and disrupt a little bit, that'd be an amazing thing.
Just say, remember me, bitch? I'm back. The two has not gone far.
We're racing in Charlotte. Need some redemption there. Yeah. And like I said, the playoffs are super unique, with it being that hybrid style, and we kind of know what to expect this year, so I'm really excited for that, and I think that'd be a very, very good way if I can go in and end the year at those playoffs with some good results. It'd be awesome.
I'm talking to Pastrana last few weeks and even RC, and talking about, the old days of the mentality and the head games and stuff. And it's just so neat to see. I mean, I hope you take pride in being the Dale Earnhardt of our sport, being that's the last guy you won your ass, on a finish, and watching you at Foxborough finish hard, strong with being injured, and just seeing that old coupe back. I hope you take pride, no matter what people say about you, and even the ones that underestimate you, nobody questions your mental toughness. And you're kind of like that throwback 80s, 90s, early 2000s RC Reed, Bubba mentality. And I mean, that's got to be a source of pride. I mean, you're that guy.
No, it is. I mean, it's, I think, like you said, it's nice to have that old school mentality, and just, I guess, the way my style is. Like, I'm not the most flashy. I'm not, the guy that's maybe changing the technique or anything like that. But I'm able to go in and do the work, and most of the time get the job done. And, I feel like I do handle pressure really well, and I thrive in those situations, and I'm able to adjust and then on the flip side, like you said, play those little bit of mind games and get in the competitors' heads. And even this year, like I noticed with Jet, like I feel like he races us all a little bit differently. And I truthfully feel like with me, he knows, like what you just said, that I'm going to be there late. I'm gonna maybe run it in here and there. I'm going to be a pain in his ass, to where I think some of the other guys, he just knows he can kind of beat type thing. So yeah, I think I pride myself in that a lot, and hopefully I can do that till I'm done racing.
That would be awesome, and like I said, you've earned that. So that's you're kind of like the go to the mental toughness. So that is neat to be able to do that. And then it's to remind them too, because like you said, you know guys that give up passes that you just know you can get around and run right. And Hayden Deegan calling out Levi, I knew he was going to fade. It's like if you already know that before the gate drops, that you've got you might own this guy a little bit. With you, there's no ownership. I mean, you're Cooper Webb. You own your own, your deed to your ass, and nobody else. And that's something you've earned.
No, I appreciate it. And like I said, I think that goes back to just the way I am. I've always been that way, and I do pride myself in that. And it's like you said, the media or the press conference people might not understand that's how champions are and made or whatever, but I for sure do. And I'll continue to be myself. That's for dang sure.
Hey, forever and ever, your picture on my phone was you with the cigarette, which was the funniest picture ever. But I changed your picture in the phone with that stoic look of you in the press conference. That is my favorite pic. Yes, I'm like, this is cool.
We're hoping we can bring that back.
Dude.
Right? When the timing's right, I think we can most definitely recreate that, and hopefully it's on championship night or something like that, right?
Hey, I missed the tension in the press conferences. I miss RC and Reed and Bubba, all those guys sitting next to each other, and just the hate, the tension was there in the sport, in the pits. Everybody loves it. It's a kumbaya now. I love you bringing back tension, whether it's in the pits, on the track, wherever. I'm glad it's back. We need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it is tough. I think with me especially, like I'm pretty, I'd say, the launches are some of my friends, so it is really tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, like, when the helmet's on, it's game on,
yeah,
and that's at least how I felt, and I feel like that's how he felt as well. And like I said, I think moving forward, I know the guys still know, man, Coop's still got it, and he can be a pain in our butt, and he's stubborn, and he can go the distance and all these things. And
hell yeah.
I felt that even this year, like when I tied it up with Jed, I could see, like he would come over and try to talk to me and joke, and I think he knew what I was capable of. And towards the end of the year, it was back to like
good.
I'd go and try to talk to him, and it was. He was tunnel vision. So, like I said, I think it's good to have that and know that that's a good attribute of mine to be able to know that, hey, this guy means business.
That is awesome. What about the track changes? I know that Feld, with SMX, and you guys have long seasons. The whoop pads being a little bit shorter, maybe no dragon backs. Things what they're doing with the track. Do you like the changes in that direction? I know that you love when things are rough and tough, and you have to earn them. So what do you think about the track changes?
Honestly, I didn't think our tracks were the best this year in a whole.
Okay.
I think, a lot of people put emphasis on the whoops, the 9 whoops. I think it should be more. I do. And I'm a jumper, I'm the first to, if the jumping line's faster, I'm going to do it. But I do think, I think a lot of people have said it should be at least 10. That way it isn't a 3-3-3 like we have been doing.
Yes.
But I think the big thing behind it all, and everyone said, the 9 thing, but they built some decent size this year. Like they were building them pretty big at certain races and stuff like that, and they were tough. But for me, what was untalked about and what I absolutely hate is they put flat turns
back
after the whoop section.
There's nothing you can do. Yeah.
And that's the big problem, right? That's what's creating the jumping line, because there's nothing you can do. If you blitz them and go to the outside, it does nothing for you. So that's what bummed me out. I feel like the tracks this year, like there was very minimal rhythm sections, a lot of flat turns, a lot of walls and singles, and I think they're trying a little bit too hard, and they need to go back to making it supercross. There's tunnel jumps, and there's these skis, and there's hips, and there's this and that, and there's all these straightaways, and it just doesn't make great racing. And I think unfortunately it makes the racing much tighter, and I think the series wants that, but it's still, like we see every year, the cream's still going to rise to the top. They can make a flat track where
2 barrels
jumps and us going circles, and the best guy's still going to win. So I would just like to see the berms come back. They were super raceable. I'd like to see the rhythm lanes come back. The whoop thing was definitely a controversial part. And even with the dragons, like my biggest thing was I like dragons. Like I don't think they're too bad. I think it is a part of Supercross. But I think all this should have been done back in October. I think they should have at least told us all this. So like I joke around. I hit 3 dragon backs at the goat farm all year or all off season. That would have been nice to not have to hit those every single day. And
you've been bitten by dragons backs.
Thing is, I think getting back to the bowls, and And I think there should be communication with the racers and the teams and the riders. I think they went out and just kind of did this and didn't really have a rhyme or a reason besides it was safer, which maybe it is, like the 9 whoops, maybe it is a safer thing. But, okay, why are you taking the berms away? Why are you taking the rhythm lanes away? That would be my questions of stuff. And as we all know, Supercross is dangerous, and it's a dangerous sport. And if they keep making it too fast and too easy, we're only going to push the speeds and levels higher and make it even more dangerous. So we'll see.
I know that he's on your team, but what about the Deegan off-track controversy? What's a fair penalty if you leave the track on your own?
This one's tough. It's very controversial, right?
Yeah.
I do think it's situational. I think it's just tough because there is no
everything's different.
Rule,
Every
right?
single instance is different. Yeah.
I watched the race this weekend, and I watched the Al, and I watched Deegan, and honestly, I didn't see anything wrong with any of it. I feel like there shouldn't have been a penalty for the Al is the bottom line.
Okay. Okay.
Is my personal opinion. I do think there should be something where if you run off, maybe, like, to me, the simple fix would be, all right, it should be a time penalty. If you run off and you accelerate, then it's just a 5-second or 3-second penalty. And if that affects the results, then it affects the results.
Gotcha.
You add it to the overall race time or whatever that rider did. And if the guy finished like Levi did, 2 seconds behind him, then maybe you change it. But it's tough, right? Because, like I said, I truly think, Deegan ran off the track, but I think he wins that moto either way, and with the Al, I would have to say the same thing. When he ran off, like, it didn't really change the position, right? So I don't know. There's a lot into it, and I think the other thing is when you start handing out those penalties, especially for a win, if you're messing with people's bonus money, you're messing with the history books, you're messing with a lot of stuff for most of the time. It's a mistake when you run off. I do agree. Like, if you run off and you pin it and you cut the actual track,
sure,
heck yeah, you should be penalized.
Yep.
But to lose a position, I don't know if that's the true fair thing. So it's tough. I mean, I know it'll be a controversial thing and whatever. But yeah, I don't know if a position is appropriate.
When you go off the track as a racer in any race, Supercross, Motocross, whatever, do you even think to yourself, like, how to handle that? Or are you literally just thinking about getting your ass back in the race? Like, are you consciously saying?
Think about it.
Okay.
And that is one thing. I do think there should be something, because you need to be held accountable, right?
Sure.
Like, if you run off the track, that's a mistake, and a mistake should cost you time. Like when I saw Chase in the second Moto 450, he ran off the track. He did it 100% right, and he got back on the track, and he lost time.
Right.
That's an honest, mistake, an effort, and that's what happened. And I think that's how it should be. Yeah, he lost a lot of time. Can you lose time and it only be half a second? Sure. But it ended up costing Chase a lot. So I do think that you need to be mindful, because I think it's a lot of, especially the young guys. I see it at the farm and at Eldon's. It was that way too. Like, people would run off the track when we're trying to go faster, and they mat it down the side of the track and miss the rhythm and get back on like nothing ever happened. Yeah. And I think that's where you see it a lot in practice, and people create those habits. So I do think it's 100% mindful. People say, "Oh, it's not, like it's an instinct." I think that's bullshit. I think everything you do on the dirt bike is instinctual. You know exactly what's going on no matter what. So I think it's just a habit that, you need to know, all right, if I run on the track, boom, I need to get back on in a safe and calm manner, and boom, we go from there.
Practice as you race, and race as you practice. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we need helmet communications? Are you a fan of that? Is it time?
I am, and I'm not. Honestly, I'm leaning more towards it, to be honest. and I shouldn't even say communication. I don't think you should have communication at all. As far as like when I say that, I mean in like a NASCAR sense. Hey, this guy's on your inside, or hey, there's a better line here.
Yeah.
I think that is taking a lot out of motorcycle racing. I think that's half the thing that makes motorcycle racing cool and fun and good racing is the unknown.
Figure it out. Yeah.
But my opinion on it all is that there should be an AMA official with a headset, us with a headset for Red Cross incidents.
Ooh, okay.
Hey, there's a rider down on the finish line. The Red Cross flag is out. That, to me, would make a lot of sense. I think it would take away us jumping on them.
Mm-hmm.
You see it all the time when there's a rider down on the backside of a jump and people land on the rider. I think it would create for a safer environment in that department. And I might get some hate on this, but I also think from the lap rider standpoint, you could say, hey, and it just goes to that rider, whatever number rider's getting lapped, leaders behind, pull over type thing, or give way. And I think that would also be a way of maybe helping not only us guys that are lapping the riders, but helping the lap riders know that we are coming because, in their defense, a lot of the times they're waving the blue flag, but they might be waving it 5 laps in a row.
Sure, yeah.
And
they don't know where, yeah.
They don't know where the guys are. So I do think it would help in that aspect as well. But as far as communication, as far as getting feedback from a mechanic or
pit board only,
a crew member, I don't agree with that.
All right, pit board only. Got to come around, look at your mechanic.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I think we learned from Tomac that you guys do not like to hear about being old or retirement or anything like that. But it was very cool to see your post to AC after all the years of amateur and professional battling. That when he did retire because of his health stuff. Yeah. I mean, that was a very classy move, Coop, because you guys have had some damn epic battles.
No, for sure, man. It's a bummer, to see him go out that way. But it seems like he's obviously been dealing with this stuff for a long time, and I think he's very sound with the decision. But it's tough, man. Like it definitely hit me. Like me and him are basically the same. He's a little younger, but we're the same age. We raced each other since we were literally 5-6 years old, and it's tough because I feel like I said I had probably the best year, maybe not on paper, but the best year of my career so far. And on the flip side of that, he's calling it a career at the same age. So it was tough, to see that because I think it puts it into realization. Like, man, I feel like 28 is a great age. I do know we're on the older end, but it's still I feel like I have plenty of years left. But to see that was definitely tough. It hit me a little bit. But it's like I told him, and like I've been saying lately, like I tip my cap to the guy because. It's not easy to race with injuries and to race with all the pressure that he did have his entire life is tough. When I was a young kid, I wanted that, and I wanted to be in the spotlight, and I wanted everything he had, and I said that and will continue to say it. Like, he definitely helped make me the racer and the competitor that I am because, he was always the carrot for me anyway. And even when we turned pro, it was the same way. I wanted to show everybody that I'm the better rider, I'm the better racer. But I think in the whole grand scheme of things, when you really look at to be able to have a guy your same age that you race your whole career and us both have the careers we've had, which are very successful, is really cool, right? I see it all the time where you have amateur rivalries and, maybe only one of you make it pro, or if you both make it pro, maybe you're only in the 250 class and don't really make it much past that. So I think it shows how deep, our field was and how good we both were. And, it was definitely sucks to see, but looking back as a whole, like it was also a very cool thing to see and to know, that we both helped shape each other's career in a sense, right?
Absolutely. Steel sharpens steel. That was for sure. I'm not going to ask you when you retire. That's years down the road. But would you retire even, let's say your contract ends and you won a championship, would you defend no matter what, or will you do an RC and just do a mic drop and like an RV and RC and just walk away with a plate?
It's changed for me, man. I mean, if you would have asked me that question 3 years ago, I would have already said, I'll be retired by then.
Yeah.
I'll be retired by 27.
Yeah.
It's changed. I've always thought that too. Like, man, it'd be so cool to go out on top, to win a championship and to hang it up.
Yeah.
But I don't look at it like that anymore. I really don't. I've looked at it like I've won 2 championships. So if I retired tomorrow, I've had a hell of a career. I've achieved way more than I ever thought possible. When I look at the guys I've raced, like Tomac and Kenny and Chase and now Jet, look at the book. Like, these are some of the best dudes to ever do it.
Yeah.
And I'm in the same category and exceeding some of them in some ways. So, I think that's where I'm very happy with what I can do. Sure. My goal next year is to win another championship, and 26 would be to win another championship. But I have said, I think I'll know when I can't be competitive, because for me, it's nice to have fun. And I do think this new switch and being on the new team has been really fun. Like, I'm enjoying riding dirt bikes again. I'm enjoying training. I'm enjoying racing. I'm enjoying a lot right now. But maybe that came with age, but I do think the change helped that. But I also enjoy winning the most. So I do think when a time comes where if I can't be on the podium or in that top 5, then I think that's the day you'll see me step away. But if I can go out and know that, hey, I can win a race, at least a race, then I'm going to be out there.
That's awesome. Reed said, I did a pod with him about 2 weeks ago, and he said something to me. It was so interesting. He said that the closer you get to the end of your career, the more nervous those last laps on wins and podiums are, because you never know when your last one is. It's almost like you're nervous like a rookie to get your first one. When you get towards the end, you're nervous that it might be your last. Isn't it? He says you feel the walls closing in. I mean, that's just a weird image or, in your mind, but you at some point there's going to be your last podium, your last win. You don't know when that's going to be, but I thought it was pretty insightful for Reed to drop that later in his career. He felt that.
Yeah, and I can see that. I don't think I'm quite there,
no.
But I can definitely see that. I think the biggest thing is I'm really appreciating the wins a lot more, understanding how hard they really are, and with the team and with the fans and with my family, like, I'm definitely appreciating them more. Those few years when it was championship years, you start winning so much that it's just like, that's what you expect. And that's just like, if you don't win, it's like, well, what happened? To where that's still how I am in my helmet, I guess, when I don't win. But on the flip side of that, it's like, hey, I just won against the best riders in the world. And, this is a great feeling. And so I don't think I've felt that yet, but I've definitely been taking time to understand, and even the podiums, like I used to treat podiums like a failure. But now podiums are key to winning championships. Yeah. But also just kind of soaking them up and going, hey, it means a lot to be up here. But when you win, I think it means obviously the most. And, it's all perspective, and I do think my perspective has gotten a lot better as of late.
That is awesome. What an honest answer. Hey, when you do retire, though, you can be a stand-up comedian, because you're killing it with the morning wood and jacket off and these one-liners, dude. You're doing it.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I feel like I'm able to be myself, a little bit more relaxed with my current situation and team and stuff, and it's been enjoyable. Like I said, it's just kind of getting back to. I've said it 100 times, but I feel like a rookie again, and like just being off the bike these last 2 weeks, like, it pains me to be off the bike. And, we were joking, like it was the first time in a long time that I actually wish I was at Paula instead of being on the couch.
Wow, that's a great quote. My favorite too was the nod at Sexton's comment about the stock stuff working on the KTM. That, to me, for people behind the scenes that know how hard you fought for stuff, I loved that in the PC.
Yeah, it's
little redemption for Coop.
Crazy, man. It is crazy. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a former champion knows what he wants on a bike. Imagine that, and you handled it with class. I mean, and it's one of those things. And I bet you people only know about 1/10 of what you fought for behind the scenes to get you to feel comfortable on that bike. So for me, I just loved. It was almost like a light bulb and a redemption light went off above your head when you heard that publicly spoken by another rider.
Yeah, no, it is, and like I said, I think it's one of those things. It's easy to be bitter and like, man, it's for me. It'd have been great to have had that when I was there, and I feel like I would have won a lot more races and probably more championships. So it's tough when you look at it like that. But now I can know, like, hey, Chase is given the best available stuff, and I was able to beat him straight up this year, and so it's nice for me to kind of go, all right, maybe it wasn't just me being crazy. I was onto something, and they gave it their all this year. I feel like they really changed the way they did things, and I think it was a really big effort for them to do that. It's not easy to do, so I applaud them for giving Chase and Aaron every viable source possible and letting the motorcycle be the best it can be.
We've last question before we get to our Dunlop 5 questions is, I've known Travis Pastrana since he was 14, and we've known you since you were amateur coming up through the pros as well. We just had Pastrana on, and he just took a long break for the first time ever in his life to get his mind and his body right. That Grayson Murray story was just in the news with the golf, unfortunate, and then Lexi Thompson just retired, citing mental health issues as a reason, and it really highlights what professional athletes deal with starting so young. I'm just wondering, how do you protect yourself and find that balance and stay out of those dark places that kind of come with being in this game so long?
It's tough, man. I think it's tough in the fact of that adrenaline. That's all we know from such a young age is go 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 go, and having that feeling of competing and pressure and this and that. So when it goes away, I can see why people struggle, and I've known that. I've been well aware of that. So I think for me, and everyone says it, but I do think having a family now has really changed the way I look at things. And now all of a sudden, me getting a 10th place on Saturday doesn't mean anything, because I get to come home and even go to my camper that night and be with my family. That's huge. But I think for me, I've always tried to, all my best friends are away from the racetrack. I have a great support system at home with my wife and kids and my family and her family. And we have a lot of friends and even here in town now in Tallahassee, like we've met some great neighbors, and we get out and go do, like we were at the beach all weekend with our neighbors and just stuff like that, where I think it balances the racer life versus your home life. And people preach about it, but it's very important to have balance and stress. I think it's so easy to overlook, but stress is a killer. It really is. And so I think if you can put yourself in the most stress-free environment, that's only going to help all that. And stress can come from many different things. I think people look at us like, oh, why are they stressed? They ride their motorcycle each day and they make tons of money and they travel and they live the life. But it's like what you said, everyone has their own problems and their own battles and their own demons that they're fighting. And, like when I look at my stuff and what stresses me out is there's risk, right? I could go tomorrow and change my life because of an injury or because of a decision I made on the dirt bike or whatever the case is. So there's that stress. And then, like you said, there is performance stress when you have to be at your physical prime for 31 weekends out of the year. That's not easy. physically, mentally, emotionally, and especially for me with some stuff I got going on. Like, I have to be on a complete diet that is to the T. If I get off that diet for one meal, it affects my body. Like, you got to do that for 35, 36 weekends out of year while you're racing. And then, you got to also do that for the 2 months leading up to the series. Like, it's a lot,
Sure.
especially on the body. I think physically it's very hard when you're traveling, like I said, that many times in a year. I don't know if the body's meant to travel that much and to be beat up that much. So there's a real, like you said, there's a real place for making sure your mind's right and that your situation's right, and taking that appropriate time when it is needed, or listening to the body, or whatever the case is. It's very real.
That's awesome. I think it's very important for people to hear the ones they look up to, talk about that. I think the family balance is such a. Does Mariah have any rules like don't bring that shit home? Like I don't want to hear it. Like is it?
No, I'm always good at it. I really have, and I don't know where I learned that, but that is something I have been able to do. Honestly, my whole career is like, as soon as I get in the truck, I can sulk or be happy or whatever on my drive home.
That's awesome.
But as soon as I'm home, and this was before kids too. I was able to separate the two, and I really had to. If I came home and was thinking about dirt bikes nonstop, I would go crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there was a few years where, even as a pro and winning championships, I really didn't like dirt bikes. So it changes with time and age, and like I said, I think you start to appreciate things more. And I think it's also, like you said, when you have a lot of people don't like having trials in their life, but those trials and those tough times is when you learn the most. It really does. And so I think that's when you have too many highs, the lows seem really low. So I think when you can balance the highs well and balance the lows well, then you kind of live in that medium and you do well. And that was something that I'm trying to help with these young guys. And, I see it especially with some of the rookies here where, when they have a bad result, it really eats at them. And just trying to explain to them, hey, dude, it's not the end of the world. Like, you got another go 7 days from now. And, I think the more level you can be, the better.
And you've always been faith-based, and I've always admired that about you because you've never hidden that, even in the world where that's sometimes a thing. And if you think you're it, that the world revolves around you, it's going to come crashing down quick. And being faith-based and looking at the bigger picture with things, I think that, with you, I look at you as that, like, that has to help, keep perspective of what a dirt bike is, 4 hours during a week when you're racing in front of 60,000 people.
No, it is. And that's where I lean on my faith a lot. And I think, my personal opinion, you have to, right? But I know everyone's different and they have different beliefs. But for me, that's what I do. I heavily lean on my faith and trust in God's plan. And I know it sounds corny, but
no, it's not.
That is really how I feel. So,
oh my God! In our world,
I'm happy. Yes. I live a great life, and that's all I can ask for is for me and my family to be happy and healthy and let blessings come our way, right?
That's awesome. I think we can't find a better way to end that. We'll get the Dunlop 5 questions and get you out of here. Make sure you check them out on socials at Ride Dunlop. I know you wear flip-flops a lot. What about Crocs? Do you wear Crocs, Cooper Webb?
No, I don't own a pair of Crocs. And no, I'm not on it.
Poor RJ is the only dude that has admitted publicly to wearing Crocs. I feel bad for him now. He's hung out to the Crocs to dry.
My trainer, Swanepoel, wears them, and he swears by them and says once you go, you'll never go back. But I'm not there yet.
All right, I know you do your prayer on the starting line, but what are any other starting line rituals?
No, that'd be really the only one.
Okay.
Just kind of lock in. Like, I'm always leaning over the bar pad and just kind of visualizing and thinking about the race and start and what I need to do and how the track's going to change, and just kind of running through pre-race stuff.
And I said this is the starting line is like a urinal, men's urinal. No, there's no talking to the guy next to you. It's funny how you all are like 18 inches apart and nobody says a word to anybody else.
Yeah. Well, especially when the COVID races, when there was 0 people in the crowd and it's dead silent.
Yeah. Awkward.
But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. If you could bring back any racer of any era, to race against in their prime, who would it be? Where you could line up next to him, is it mano a mano, their prime versus your prime? Who would that be? That you didn't get to race against?
That's a tough question, man.
Yeah. I finally asked you one you haven't been asked in 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know if truthfully I'd want any of the OGs, man. They were, like when I think of like the people I grew up watching was, I kind of missed the McGrath era.
Yeah.
Like 2001, 2002 was the first years I remember watching. So for me, like Ricky and Chad were the heroes, and then came Stu, and then the Ryans, and then it was basically me at that point racing. So I think maybe I don't know much about anything earlier than that. So, I mean, I think it truly would be cool to see like race Stu or race Ricky, and obviously they have all these records. But just to see like where do I stack up against some of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, for me, it would be James or Ricky, only because that's the GOAT, and then that's the fastest man on the planet. Those are the two guys. I mean, like, I want to see how I would stack up against one of those guys on any, like Anaheim 1. Those guys rolling through my tunnels, like, holy shit, let's do this.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
All right, single over table over single. That's a quad, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is there a controversy over that?
I truly don't know.
I don't either.
I really don't. But I think it's more the old, like, not to knock you, but the older generation.
Okay, smart ass. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because everybody I've talked to that are older than me are like, oh yeah, it's a triple. I'm like, no, it's a quad, because if you were to remove the dirt out of the middle of the tabletop, it's a double.
Yes, because if you don't clear the tabletop, it's not a jump. It's going to the top of a tabletop.
I'm with you.
All right, so David Iser agrees.
To me, but
David Iser agrees with you. Kevin Kelly, for some reason, in his redneck ass ways, does not call that a quad. So let's just say that Kevin and I are both old, but he's an idiot. All right, last question: would you have picked up your bike and finished the race like McAdoo after his gear malfunction in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean. It's not great showing the boys, but you have to, right? Yeah. And I think you saw, right, before he got injured, like red plate, like it paid off for a little bit.
He passed people. McAdoo, let's face it, he is always one of those guys, like, let's keep a camera on him. Something's going to happen. Coop, it was only going to happen to McAdoo. Nobody else in the world this is going to happen to but him. I'm with Cameron.
It's those certain guys that it's only going to happen to, like you said, and I'm with you. Cameron fits it perfect.
All right. Well, Coop, thank you. We always thank you. I only bug you once a year because I know that there's a time that we were the only show in town, and now that there's 50 things you have to hit up every week to get for interviews. But thank you for always hitting us back, and man, good luck with the baby and getting back on the bike with the healing stuff, with your thumb getting healed up. We always appreciate you, brother. We love you, and thanks for always being here for DMXS.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, talk to you soon.
Care.
Thanks, Coop. All right, there we go. Cooper Webb. Man, just sometimes I forget I'm interviewing people. When you talk to them, it's almost as comfortable as when they're at the races. So thanks to Coop for that, man. A lot of insight there. I hated to get dark on the mental stuff, but man, it's important. And I think that the Grayson Murray, if you're not a golf guy, this is a guy that lost his battle with depression and anxiety and took his life last week, and it kind of shook the world because everybody thought he was doing better. And then we've got some of the other athletes. You heard the Travis one that we just did, talking about how important mental health is, and having your mind right and getting good sleep and just making sure that that you're mentally prepared for everything in life, because it comes at everybody pretty fast. So I just wanted to ask him about that, because I know that obviously Coop's got his shit together and one of those guys that's mentally tough, but sometimes they all have some chinks in their armor. So it was pretty good to hear about that. So thanks again to our sponsors, RaceRex, the great folks at MX Sports, and wrapping up the qualifiers for Loretta Lynn's, the amateur pilgrimage to Tennessee that happens every year, the pinnacle of amateur racing. We appreciate you guys. W Wheels, best in business, of course. Ojo Concept 2 Rowers, and the great folks there at Dunlop. Make sure you check out their new GeoMax line, developed with input of the AMA Pro racers, because they run with the pros run, because they know, and let's face it, they know a lot more than us about that stuff. So DMXS, thanks for that. Again, the Will Hahn one will be up here. Chad Reed, Brayton, and DeCoster, and Pastrana Hahn. I mean, we've got some good ones in the can, so hopefully we're back on schedule here, get some more of these out. Thanks for listening. DMXS out.
What's up, guys? This is Justin Brayton, David Iser, and Kevin Keller, a bunch of clowns. You can go ahead and turn your radio off now.
You listen to us because we are motorcycle guys. You might even call us gurus. We are awesome.
I've been called a lot worse than that, Kevin Keller.
Yeah, we're the guys. We know everything. I know everything about you. I know everything about movies. I know everything about the space shuttle launches and the crashes. Everything.
And because you turn to us for motorcycle knowledge, we only tell you about what's the best, Kevin, because our spotless reputation that we've built for 16 years is on the line. That's why.
Yeah, and I would not risk my crappy reputation on just anybody. That's why we are telling you about Dunlop tires. It's what we have on our bikes. I have a fleet of motorcycles, and they all have fresh, crispy Dunlops on them. If the pros have them, you know us amateurs are going to have them. They're good enough for them. They got to think they're good enough for us dorks.
Too good for Dunlops, you're a tire snob. We want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, good luck with that. But not just the pros use them. Everyday riders agree, and they have the testing to back it up. You can't beat the quality of Dunlop motorcycle tires.
Let's wrap this bad boy up, Kevin. Whether you're on the dirt, the road, or the track, you can depend on Dunlop. To learn more about their products, visit DunlopMotorcycleTires.com or your local pro dealer. The amateur guys are working their way up. Go to a Dunlop pro dealer. Check them out. We love them. You will too.
Get ready, America, because WUSA is your #1 source for quality wheel sets in America. WUSA offers all the top brands that you and the world's best racers know and trust, like Reed, Dungy, Millsaps, Tickle, Sealy, Short, and more. All rely and trust WUSA, because all our wheels are built right in our shop in Orange, California. And if you want it custom made for your bike, like the world's best freestyle riders, Renner, Deegan, Adams, Madison, Mason, Sherwood, and others, you can choose different spoke and nipple colors for a completely custom look that'll dazzle you. Off-road riding, WUSA can build you wheels for the absolute toughest of conditions. And W also offers DID and Excel rims, along with OEM replacement spoke and nipple kits for your stock hubs. Need brakes? W offers the industry's best oversized and standard brake kits from Galfer and Brembo. Just see your local dealer or visit us at WUSA.com. Hey, you can also download the most current W catalog from the iTunes App Store. WUSA, DUBYA USA. It doesn't get any better than us.